The fire crackles beneath the night sky. A circle of Vikings stands silently around a wooden altar. The smell of smoke fills the cold northern air. In the center, a sacrifice awaits. The crowd watches, no one speaks, no one looks away, because tonight they are not merely honoring their gods, they are trying to earn their favor. In the Viking world, the gods were powerful, unpredictable, and often terrifying, and to please them, people were willing to do things that would horrify us today. Welcome to the dark world of Viking rituals, a world where faith, fear, and blood were deeply intertwined. When most people think of Vikings, they imagine fierce warriors, longships, axes, and epic battles. But the Vikings were much more than raiders. They were deeply spiritual people who believed their lives were controlled by powerful gods and supernatural forces, gods like Odin, Thor, Freya, and Tyr. To gain protection, victory, and prosperity, Vikings performed rituals that ranged from strange to deeply disturbing. Some involved animals, others involved the dead, and a few may have involved human sacrifice. So today, let's journey into the most terrifying Viking rituals and uncover the dark spiritual world that shaped one of history's most feared civilizations. To understand Viking rituals, you first need to understand one thing. The gods were not seen as gentle protectors. They were powerful forces that demanded respect. A successful harvest, a healthy family, victory in battle, good weather, all of these could depend on divine favor, and Vikings believed favor had to be earned. The most common ritual was known as a blot. A blot was a sacrifice offered to the gods. Animals were often killed during these ceremonies. Their blood was collected and sprinkled on altars, temples, sacred objects, and worshippers. The Vikings believed blood carried spiritual power. To modern people, the ritual sounds disturbing. To Vikings, it was simply part of life. During major religious festivals, entire communities gathered for sacrifice. Animals such as horses, pigs, and cattle were offered to the gods. The blood was collected in special bowls. Then priests used branches to splash the blood throughout the sacred space. Imagine standing inside a wooden temple. Torches flickering, drums echoing, the smell of fresh blood in the air. The gods were believed to be watching, and everyone present wanted their blessing. For Vikings, these rituals connected the human world to the divine. But to outsiders, they must have appeared terrifying. Now we enter the most controversial part of Viking religion, human sacrifice. Historians still debate how common it was, but several historical accounts suggest it happened. In times of crisis, Vikings may have offered humans to the gods, particularly to Odin. Odin was not simply a wise god, he was also associated with death, war, and sacrifice. Some sources describe victims being hanged from trees, others describe ritual killings during major ceremonies. Imagine believing your entire community depended on pleasing the gods. Imagine believing a sacrifice could save everyone. Suddenly, horrifying acts become easier to justify. And throughout history, many societies have made similar choices. Not all Viking rituals happened in temples. Many occurred in sacred forests. Certain groves were considered holy. These places were believed to be inhabited by spiritual power. Offerings were left among the trees. Animals were sacrificed. Ceremonies were held beneath ancient branches. Imagine entering a dark forest at night. No roads, no lights, only torches, wind moving through the trees. Every shadow seems alive. For Vikings, these groves were gateways between worlds, places where the gods felt especially close. Few gods inspired more fear than Odin, while Thor protected humanity. Odin was mysterious, dangerous, unpredictable. He pursued wisdom at any cost. According to mythology, Odin sacrificed himself to gain knowledge. He hung from the world tree for 9 nights, wounded by his own spear. This story influenced Viking beliefs about sacrifice. Many rituals dedicated to Odin reflected themes of suffering, endurance, and death, because Odin valued those willing to pay a price, and Vikings respected strength above all else. And honestly, the deeper you explore Viking spirituality, the more unsettling it becomes, because these weren't stories. These were beliefs people organized their lives around. So if you're enjoying this journey into the dark side of history, subscribe for more immersive stories about mythology, forgotten civilizations, and humanity's strangest traditions. Now, let's talk about one of the most famous Viking rituals, the ship burial. For important individuals, death was not the end. It was the beginning of a journey. Some Viking leaders were buried inside ships, alongside weapons, jewelry, animals, and food, everything needed for the afterlife. The ship symbolized travel to another realm, a voyage into the unknown. Imagine seeing a giant vessel transformed into a tomb, the dead surrounded by treasures, preparing for one final adventure. Even today, Viking ship burials remain among the most haunting archaeological discoveries ever made. One of the most disturbing descriptions of Viking funerals comes from an Arab traveller named Ibn Fadlan. He described the funeral of a Viking chieftain. According to his account, a female slave volunteered to accompany her master into death. For days she participated in ceremonies. Then, during the funeral ritual, she was killed and placed beside the chieftain. The ship was set ablaze. Flames consumed everything. Historians still debate certain details, but the account remains one of the most chilling descriptions of Viking ritual ever recorded. Perhaps no Viking ritual is more infamous than the blood eagle. According to later accounts, this execution involved opening the victim's back and separating the ribs. The lungs were then pulled outward, creating what appeared to be wings. Modern historians continue debating whether this ritual actually occurred. Some believe it was symbolic. Others think it may have happened in rare circumstances. Regardless of the truth, the blood eagle has become one of the darkest legends associated with Viking culture, and the fact that historians still argue about it only adds to its mystery. Not all Viking rituals involved violence. Some focused on magic. One of the most feared practices was called Seiðr. This form of magic was associated with prophecy, spirit, and fate. Practitioners entered altered states of consciousness. They claimed to communicate with supernatural forces. Many Vikings believed fate itself could be influenced through ritual. Imagine entering a dark hall, candles flickering, chants echoing through the room. A seer speaks of future battles and coming disasters. For Viking communities, these experiences felt very real, and often very frightening. Eventually, the Viking world changed. Christianity spread throughout Scandinavia. Old temples were abandoned. Ancient rituals faded. The gods that had once ruled Viking life slowly lost their place. But their stories survived. And today, those stories continue to fascinate us because they reveal something timeless. Humanity has always searched for meaning, sometimes through hope, sometimes through fear, and sometimes through rituals that seem terrifying to future generations. The most terrifying Viking rituals weren't frightening simply because they involved blood or sacrifice. They were frightening because people truly believed in them. These rituals shaped entire communities. They influenced decisions, wars, funerals, and everyday life. To the Vikings, these ceremonies connected them to gods, ancestors, and destiny itself. But looking back from the modern world, they remind us just how powerful belief can be. Powerful enough to inspire courage, powerful enough to inspire fear, and powerful enough to change history forever. If you enjoyed this journey into the dark spiritual world of the Vikings, subscribe for more immersive stories about mythology, ancient civilizations, disturbing rituals, forgotten history, and the terrifying realities of human life throughout time. And tell me in the comments, which Viking ritual do you think was the most terrifying? The blood sacrifices, the ship burials, or the mysterious magic of Seiðr? See you in the next story.